Hey. Girl, get off your phone. We started.
I'm looking for my notes.
Oh. All right. What are the cards we need today for this episode?
I have Limp Bizkit stuck in my head.
Earth Magic Fairies.
Cute.
Oh, I love that.
All right, I really want us to have an episode where, or maybe we go out into the forest and just record us connecting with fairies. We've had, we love you Pleiadians, always love you.
No, we got Steve-O.
Enough, let's just go have fun with the fairies. I'll start it off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Steve-O, yeah.
Hello, welcome to episode 6. I really wanted to say last episode, welcome to episode 5 of season 5. And it was an episode about change, which if you're familiar with numerology, the number 5 is all about change.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
I
about
didn't know that.
Being adaptable, flexible, just kind of riding the waves, baby.
Dancing with the frequency.
Check out last week's episode because it's a really good segue into this week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Victoria. I'm joined here with the lovely, beautiful Tara. And we would love it if you would like, share, subscribe our video or episode or whatever format you're viewing us in. We'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So how are you feeling? We finally came back after a long bit. We told them how that was. So how are you feeling now?
Yeah, I'm feeling much more in my body. I'm ready to do the damn thing. This episode is near and dear to my heart. So I'm ready to just dig right in. As my throat chakra is like bubbling and give me your freak check.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling more playful with the things that have been going on in my life. And I also love this topic. And it was funny because the night you texted me and said, hey, I think we should talk about this. I said, well, I literally just talked about it 2 seconds ago with a friend. So I think it was coming into both of our fields, which just something I don't think we mentioned last episode too was not only did we not record because life was crazy, we tried. We really tried to show up. The field was stagnant. Empty. We were like, what should we talk about? What should we talk about? I don't know. And every single time we were like, maybe we'll just show up and see what happens. Something would happen that day that one of us couldn't show up. So it wasn't just us being like, life is crazy. It was also the universe being like, you need to experience and not reflect yet and not talk about it yet and not share yet.
I feel like in the meantime, your hair grew a foot.
Yeah.
Like your hair's so long.
I know.
Did you go to space or something? Like, how'd you get it that long?
It's just what I do. It's magic. It's fairies. They're weaving more in every night. I have my fairy hair still somewhere.
I noticed that. Yeah, it's pretty.
I only have a couple strands left. Glistening in the light. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling. And I'm excited to talk about validation. He spikes it up. He's like, yeah, validate me. That right there is the type of validation I like to see. Physical validation. Show me the physical signs.
I'm like, I want verbal. Tell me. Speak it to me. And not telepathically either.
Yeah. Just validate me in every way possible.
Okay, so I brought this topic up to a few people, and it's so funny. You know, we love our words. We love our definitions. We love our own personal interpretations of what words mean. And so many people were like, actually, wait, what does that really, truly mean? And so the definition I was giving is that to validate someone is to not agree with what they're saying, but to, what did I say?
Don't agree with them. Validation.
But acknowledge You don't have to accept, you just have to acknowledge. And acknowledgement, I think, is really tough for people who think that acknowledging means accepting, that you're then agreeing with their truth.
Well, I also feel that accepting is a funny word because you can accept that that is their truth without accepting that it's yours.
That takes practice. We were not taught that. That takes serious deprogramming to get to that point, too.
Yeah, because accepting someone else's opinion, I've said this before, accepting someone else's opinion doesn't devalue your own. So just because I accept that you feel this way, perceive life this way, want to move this way, doesn't mean that I agree with it. I'm just accepting the fact that you have the right to have it, to do it, to perceive it that way. So validating someone is saying, I accept and hear or see or whatever what you're saying and doing. I don't agree with it, but I can say I see it, I understand it. Maybe you don't understand it, so maybe not that one, but I see it, I hear it. If you do understand it, I understand it. I accept it for what it is. Because then we're not fighting. It comes back to that change, right? If someone's like, I think you're the villain, I could be like, I accept that. I don't agree with it, but I accept that that's your experience.
Or you don't accept it, you acknowledge.
Yeah.
And to show acknowledgement, and I think we should take a whole little segment to express like what it really truly means to express acknowledgement, what it feels like when you are acknowledged. Because we're now entering into a time that's going to get hot and heavy and polarity, and we need unity. And I think one of the remedies for unity is to accept or acknowledge other people's truth. I had something else on the tip of my tongue, and I'm like, I feel like my fairy energy is coming out. I feel so like
I see it in you. You're like,
right? I needed it. I need those.
well, I think, and jump in if that thought comes
All
back
right,
to you.
thanks.
But speaking of fairies, I feel like if we're looking at validation and acknowledgement and acceptance, right? Like for me, when I'm thinking about validation, I'm thinking repeated validation. Like I don't like, and I think we all want that, right? We're going to get the sign and we're like, well, give it to me again. Well, show me again. Well, let's do it. So just like I've mentioned how I took data by journaling every day and found the validation in my feelings because it was happening at the same time or in the same way or needed to be tended to certainly in a certain way. But I also take that data in an intuitive spiritual sense. So if I get a gut feeling about something and then I pull a card and it mirrors that, and I use my pendulum and it mirrors that, and I asked Victoria and she's like, this is what I'm getting. To me, that's validation. Having a thought and having an angel number pop up, that's validation. Saying something and Steve-O spiking the EMF reader, that's validation. Because when we're talking in an intuitive sense, you're not always going to get physical things. But if you get the validation in the same, like all of a sudden the same topic keeps coming up in conversation and you're like, well, that's weird. I was just thinking about it. To me, that's the validation I'm looking for in like the energetic realm.
I went out to Savi Island this past weekend with a dear, lovely, beautiful friend. Shout out, you know who. I like how I'm suddenly very anonymous. She's also a Scorpio, so I'm sure she appreciates it. Hold on. I want to try to say this word. Anonymity? Anonymity?
Yeah,
I think I said it.
I think that's right.
But we were setting intentions on the drive out, and she said something to the effect of, let the signs be clear and easy to interpret, or like no interpretation needed. Let the signs just be so sweet and simple and obvious. And I'm so at this point, right? Because we live for the synchronicities and we love the signs and symbols to validate us. But like sometimes we waste a lot of energy trying to interpret and decipher and then justify. And is that really validating if you're like spending all this effort to try to like justify? Not really, right? Okay, the other funny thing is shortly after we got to the beach, there was a fire, like downed power lines. And then essentially we were like, shit, do we just like set fire to just our existence? Because we were really focused on our hearts as well, you know, celebrating Leo season. And of course, Leo energy wants to be validated, wants to be acknowledged and received in its fullness. So
I love that.
Let the signs be sweet and simple.
I love that.
I thought you might like that.
Because I'm like, yes, please. Simple.
I know
easy
you're
to
like
decipher.
you're like mad scientist with your cards and your symbols and your like your binary codes, and I'm like, girl, like
just let it be simple.
yeah.
Just let it be simple. And I think too, you know, validation comes in many forms. We get validation from the energetic realms, from our guides, from our intuitive friends. But we also sometimes just need like 3D validation that we're doing a good job at work, that we're being a good partner, that we're enough. And I think asking for that validation from others is okay, as long as it's supplemental to you validating yourself. Even if that's going into the mirror and saying, you are enough, writing down all the success stories you've had in the past year at work and saying, okay, instead of focusing all the hiccups I've had or stumbles along the way, let me look at the success that I've had this year and validate myself that I am worthy of this job, that I am worthy of, you know, the output that I'm giving. And then you can lean on others and say, hey, these parts that are really hard for me to validate myself because I'm still working on, you know, these wounds, I need that validation from you. You know, when Andrew and I got together, his love language was not words of affirmation, but I needed that constant validation. Yes, I love you. Yes, I'm not leaving you. Yes, I'm here forever.
And say it like you mean it.
So, you know, for a long time, he needed to just repeat that. And now I can repeat it to myself. And it's more meaningful when he does, because I don't need to ask for it. It happens authentically now.
Which totally brings up my next point. If you're looking for validation from someone outside of you, people can only see you as deeply as they've met themselves, seen themselves. So if someone is having a situation where they are not able to see themselves, we got a spike on the left here.
We got a spike on the EMF reader here.
Thank you for validating this. Go easy on them. And I'm saying that from firsthand experience because I have really wanted to be validated in my relationship, and communicating that and knowing where the person's at and what they're going through. It's not fair for me to ask that of them at this time, but knowing that they've done it before, they'll do it again. It doesn't have to be right now, right this second, and being patient with. But here's the thing, like if we're conversating, like we want to be acknowledged, we want to be seen, we want to be heard. And so what this really comes down to is the practice of presence. And how present can you truly be with someone if you have a million fucking things going on in your head?
And communicating that.
Yeah.
Because it feels a lot different when I can notice that someone is not really listening, is not really present with me. When especially when I'm needing validation. Hey, this thing happened to me. I gotta talk to you about it. And you're like scrolling through your phone or kind of like dazing off. That to me is way less validating than if you look to me and you're like, girl, I want to be here for you, but I cannot right now. That, right? And I could just be like, okay, that has nothing to do with me. She could still validate me and be like, hey, I know this is a really hard time for you, and I'm sorry, I'm here for you. I just got to like finish this thing, or I got to eat, or I got to sleep, or I got to do whatever. Just being able to communicate makes us feel validated, even if they can't fully listen, because it's like, I know that you need me right now. And that in itself is validating, even if the next sentence is, but I can't be that right now. You're like, okay, at least they know that this is serious and I need you. Communication is like the bare fucking minimum and the hardest thing to do. So it is a practice that you could do with anyone and everything, to just practice that communication of being present and communicating where you're at right now and what you need right now and what you're capable of right now.
Can you hear my stomach growling?
No. I know I'm getting kind of hungry too. No.
I know. Part of me is like, do we need a snack?
I know.
Can we?
We can pause and get a snack.
I'm like I could hear it. It stopped when.
Okay. We are back from our little snack break and talking about validation. Do you feel validated by your little snack?
So validated. Seen, satisfied.
Signed, sealed, delivered. Oh,
What were we last saying?
who knows? That's why I said welcome back to work from our snack break, because I don't even know. But what I can say is if you are looking for signs and synchronicities or things like that, and that is a way that you're eager to get validation from the energetic realm, might I suggest two things. One, pick a symbol. Pick something that you and your guides or whoever agree upon is going to be the sign, because you can make anything. I always come back to the good place, but there's a part where he's like trying to give them a code about a plan that he wants to do in front of everybody, and they pick up on like 5 clues, and he's like, oh great, I put 500, but your feeble little brains only picked up on 7 or 5, and that's great, right? So there'll be a million signs for you, but you're always going to kind of second guess them. So come up with a sign, a certain angel number, an animal, a song, a symbol, something that you connect. And then the second piece of this advice, forget about it. Let it go. Because when we're constantly like, is it there? Is it there? Is that the sign? Is that the sign? Like, you're going to miss it because you're hyper focused. You're not living authentically. And when we live authentically and feel and embody the frequency is when we get the messages. So forget about it. And then maybe months down the line, years down the line, all of a sudden someone comes to you and they're like, hey, this rabbit tattoo or this thing, and you're like, oh shit, rabbit's my validation. Or like, banana is my validation. I don't know why banana, because they're fucking everywhere. But you know what I mean? You have to just...
So are bunnies.
Yeah. I think validation goes hand in hand with trust. You're only going to get like true validation if you just lean into trust and say, it will show up when it's meant to show up, and that will be my sign. If I'm looking for it, for me, that just doesn't work very well. That's not real validation. I think that's what you were saying before, too.
Yeah, you're being a little too hyper vigilant for sure. Mm-hmm. But also, like, where you focus your attention is like what you're going to witness, like the red car theory or whatever effect. It just goes, it's a good reminder of the power of your mind and thought and what you're putting focus on. So even the act of forgetting about it is a valuable tool in so many other areas in your life.
Yeah, because I feel like energetically or intuitively, forgetting about it is true validation, because like you just said, if you think you're the worst, your brain is going to find things to prove you right. If you think that you're successful, it'll find you things to prove you right in your current reality. We're not talking manifestation. So if you're looking for validation, your brain is going to find anything that gives you that validation. And maybe that's what you need, and that's fine on your journey. But true intuitive validation is when we're not looking for it and it just happens upon us and we go, oh shit, that was that thing that I said was going to be my sign. And here it is. And now it's true validation because I wasn't looking for it in the first place.
Validation is also another means of showing what's resonating with you and what's not, because if it's not resonating, you're not going to feel seen or understood. And it's one of the saddest ways to start to end a relationship or friendship, because it's just so in your face and it just hurts so bad. And it's like, no matter how you explain it, it's not penetrating the mind, the heart. Like, no, it's harder to like have compassion too, or be like, I don't understand you, but I'm still going to hold space for you. No space is happening when there's no more resonance. I know, I feel like I talk a lot about the end of friendships and relationships, but it's important to acknowledge it's part of growing and evolving.
Yeah.
And it makes space for people you resonate with even more. So,
and I feel like that's a piece, that's like a hidden gem of validation that nobody really references or really recognize is validation. When you choose, when you get the intuitive hit or you sit with yourself and you're like, you know what, this relationship isn't good for me. And you walk away, that next relationship being really good or you being happy in alone is validation that you made the right choice. Finding that resonance after making a choice is validation that you made the right choice. You don't need a sign or synchronicity or someone to tell you that it was the right choice. You feeling at peace is validation enough. After everything I've gone through, I don't think I said this in the last episode, but I didn't even realize how I was in such dissonance with myself with a lot of things going on. So I would be out with friends and my friend would be like, hey, you're kind of quiet. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, no, literally nothing. I guess I'm just like tired. You know, like I was just like, just didn't ever really feel in the mood for like larger groups of even my close friends. Like I was like, more than one-on-one just like feels like way too much. The second I severed ties with that whole situation and all of the people within it, I all of a sudden was just like lighthearted and playing and feeling resonant in my own life again. Nothing else like in those situations themselves changed. Like me hanging out with my group of girls, like that didn't change. What we did didn't change. Who showed up didn't change. I showed up differently because the rest of my life was in resonance and I felt validated by just feeling joy and peace and connection again.
and that self-resonance is what helps you mourn the loss of what was and to really, hold space and grieve because you're going to experience both the joy and liberation and the sadness at the same time. So validation is kind of like that spike of serotonin, oxytocin, whatever. It definitely resets your chemistry after the fact.
And I think just giving yourself that validation that it does come with two sides of the coin. Everything does. So like you were saying, feeling release and resonance also comes with guilt or grief or shame of like what had come before or what your choices were. And you can feel both and you should feel validated for feeling both. And I think sometimes that there are friends who want to support us and say, no, don't feel that way. Like, you didn't, don't worry about it or whatever. It wasn't your fault. But like, that's not validating the piece of you that allowed that to happen in the first place. So seeing both sides of the coin and validating yourself for experiencing both of those. You are whole. You hold a duality. Validate yourself for experiencing both of them and that both are both fearful and exciting.
I feel like the next few months are fearful and exciting because we're about to experience or witness a lot of people have, I guess, embody really strong duality. But only seeing one side of it, probably.
Usually, I mean, it's hard to see both sides of things. It's hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes or on the other side of the situation.
I mean, my moon's in Libra. I see it all the time. Just kidding. Doesn't mean I listen, though.
Well, I think, too, with what's to come in the next coming months, like, energetically, like, that's another piece of validation for me. Feeling fucking nuts. And then finding out what's happening cosmically and being like, oh, that's why I'm experiencing this. That feels like validation to me, Like someone being like, oh, it was the full moon and it was this kind of full moon who did this and that and whatever. Then I'm like, oh, or solar flares or, Mercury in retrograde or like any of these pieces that I'm like, oh, validation for what I'm experiencing energetically because it's not just me feeling it. And I get to go, I'm not the crazy one. I can just figure out how to use this energy and alchemize it. But it is very much validating for me.
Okay, this brings up a really valid point I have in how I don't like to be validated and how this is deeply triggering to me. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people find peace in knowing other people have gone through what I'm going through. And I feel like it is taking away my individual experience and just throwing my experience in with the collective experience. And it's in that moment that I'm wanting to be validated that I want my individual experience to be recognized. And it's taken me a long time to feel comfortable showing and demonstrating my individual experience because I've always, played small, or I've tried to keep the peace, and I've tried to just make other people feel good. And I've realized in this process, I really need my individual experience to be recognized, and validating me by saying it happens to everyone triggers the fuck out of me.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think playing that card of someone else has experienced it too is a card that needs to be, if it needs to be played, if it is to be played, very mindfully. You expressing to me what you're going through at work or whatever in your relationships, and me saying, oh, well, me too, because I did this. No, literally, fuck you.
I know.
I am experiencing this with somebody in my field right now, and I'm literally like, no, honestly, fuck you. It can't always be about you all the time. For me, knowing that, not that people are experiencing it as well, but that I'm experiencing it in alignment to the cosmic energies, because to me that just validates that I'm so tapped in that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be experiencing.
Yes.
That piece to me is validating. Not, oh my God, well, me too, because sit down. Right now it's your turn to get the popcorn and fucking listen. And I will flip the script when the time is right. But it's that validation that for me only comes with the astrology, because I'm like, oh, I'm so attuned that with this solar flare, it fucked me up. And that's a good thing, because that means that's exactly what was supposed to happen, because the energies that are coming down from the cosmos are meant to do something. They're helping with our involvement. So even if it's uncomfortable, if I'm following what they're giving me, then I'm fucking doing the right thing, in my opinion. But fuck those people who try to either sympathize with you in that way or one up you. I fucking can't.
I mean, they clearly have their own issues that they have not worked out yet. So more
Talk
on
about
them than
needing
us.
validation. My God.
Right. But are they able to receive the validation?
No. That's the problem. Because those are the same people that I say to them, I hear, accept you, understand, and apologize. And they go, yeah, well, I just need to say from my perspective. I'm like, girl, I already fucking heard it. So you can't accept my validation. You need to keep pumping it out, because you're not validating your own experience. So you're like, I'm still hungry for it. Yeah, fuck off and feed yourself. I am not here to spoon feed you. I will give you the validation, and if you can't take it, literally fuck off. I'm sorry.
No snack packs for you.
No fucking snack packs. I have this fucking person in my field right now who is a one-upper and needs consistent validation but cannot take it. And I'm like, then you need to get out. I'm not going to sit here and constantly just tell you, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right. I said it 5 times already.
I know. All you can do with a one-upper is sidestep them.
Yeah. I just try to just go, okay. I just keep saying, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, that happened to you? Okay. Oh, you had it worse? Oh, okay. What am I going to say? I'm sorry? I didn't fucking do it to you.
Are they an earth sign?
I don't know. I don't know when their fucking birthday is.
I love earth signs, so don't get me wrong there, but
It's a Capricorn and earth sign?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, what the fuck? Bitch. I don't validate what you're saying. Sorry, I got heated for a second, but that shit pisses me off.
And I want to be like, what's the remedy for it? And at the same time, I'm like, there's just no, they got to learn their
There's
own.
no remedy because, adjacent to change, like what we see in people, the potential in people, and what we see that they can change and work on and grow. Oh, you can't accept validation. You should really work on that. Like, we can't fucking tell them shit. Like, they need to do it on their own. They need to go through this, and you're taking it away from their soul. And this is my fucking problem, is I'm always trying to take the reins from the soul of someone else and be like, no. I see where your soul path is. Let me just fucking get it there for you. Let me just like put you on the right train track. And their soul's like, fuck you. No, I'm on this train track. Right. And I'm like, but I know, but I see your guides are saying that's this one. And then they resist more. That's why when we fall in love with people's potential, we get the most hurt because we push them to be that version of themselves. When if it was time for them to be that version of themselves, they would be.
Oh, the power of acceptance.
Ugh. I accept that some people gotta fuck off.
On that note,
Fairies came in and I'm like, feisty fairy, feisty.
Fairies are the protectors of the earth realm, the plant medicine realm. Like, they are feisty little creatures.
Yeah. I validate you, fairies.
Like, we don't need your validation.
Oh, we don't?
But we'll play in your hair and cause some mischief.
I know. They like causing mischief, just like Steve-O. He didn't like that. Oh my God. What else about validation? I'm like, I got off on a rampage there a little bit. Anything else about validation?
Can we normalize it? Can we normalize asking for it? Anyone who's listening, let's start to make it part of our practice. Our own personal practice, validating ourselves, but going out into the world, spreading your presence, spreading your kindness and compassion, and offering up validation. Okay, I do have one more thing, actually. Flirting. I love to flirt, and not with an agenda other than recognizing something about someone and bringing it to their attention and making them feel good about it. Whether or not they can fully receive it or not, I will flirt with your mother, grandmother, uncle, 5-year-old. And it's so important to look at flirting from a means of, I know, literally just giving your whole family to flirt with. Leo season. But it feels so good to be acknowledged. And it feels so good to be acknowledged in moments where the chaos is crazy and you get to like slow down and be appreciated in the moment. So just saying, maybe incorporate a little flirting into your...
Because that is very validating. Like, even when my girlfriends look at me and all of a sudden they'll like double take and just go, okay, Tara, you're really, you're looking too good today. And I'm like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this is validating. This does feel good. And it doesn't need to have any kind of endpoint between or like after that. It's just, I see you, I accept you, I appreciate you in a physical sense, in an emotional sense, in a mental sense, like giving that validation to somebody, giving that little bit of flirt, like.
And here's what it is. Flirting, instead of it being a compliment where it's very much like a black and white exchange of like compliment, thank you, you're welcome, on your way, right? Like it's just very like cut and dry. Flirting, you're more so like pickleballing the energy of validation. So even though pickleball,
I've never played pickleball.
I see it everywhere. It's kind of like our biggest
really
epidemic right now.
To say pickleball instead of like tennis or something. Like
well,
ping pong or...
It's like a nationwide problem right now. So
it's a nationwide epidemic. Save yourself. Don't get roped into pickleball.
I'm just bad with balls and a little jealous that I can't play. So
well, that seems like a personal problem.
It affects others as well. So Don't play any ball games with
I'm
me.
like, can we get them in here for validation? Please line up outside.
Someone throw me a football. I already got my fantasy football invite for the year, and I'm like,
When does that start in the fall? October?
September preseason.
September. All right, girl. I validate you. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for validating us by listening.
Liking.
That does seem validating. Subscribing, prescribing. These are validating things. And I think we've done a good amount of work here in this sphere. So, like, maybe you could validate us with that little prescription.
And if you are still listening up until this point, we love you so much and we cherish every second that we get to spend with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and being present.
Mm-hmm. Love you.
And we're done.